China, Italy, Germany, Spain, France, and Japan. Brenda Kirubu for KTN News.
Meanwhile, a special motion to discuss the delayed appointment of a substantive Auditor General will be tabled in the Senate next week. On Tuesday, senators called for strict monitoring and accountability of the COVID-19 pandemic funds. They expressed concern that the long vacuum in the office of the Auditor General was breeding ground for pilferage and misappropriation of public funds.
On 12th March, High Court Judge Stephen Radido declined to stop fresh recruitment of the new Auditor General that began in December. The judge directed the Attorney General to submit a report on the interviews that were conducted last year to Parliament, even as the fresh recruitment commenced. A selection panel that was to recruit the new Auditor General re-advertised the position, saying none of the 7 candidates shortlisted after the first interviews met the criteria for the job. Former Auditor General Edward Ouko retired last August after serving the 8-year non-renewable term. From the court ruling, Kenya expected to have Ouko's successor by mid-April. The office is still vacant. The government plans to borrow 275 billion shillings from the World Bank, IMF, and the European Union Investment Bank to bridge the budget deficit due to COVID-19 pandemic. Senators are demanding accountability.
This country has now gone for 1 year without an Auditor General.
The Auditor General plays a very critical role in oversight.
The oversight measures should always be in place. And I think we should have a special motion to have the government explain why they have not appointed an Auditor General.
On 2nd April 2020, the World Bank Group Board of Directors approved 5 billion shillings in immediate funding under the Kenya COVID-19 Emergency Response Project. The money was to fund medical diagnostic services, surveillance, capacity building, quarantine, isolation and treatment centers, medical waste disposal, as well as strengthening the capacity to provide safe blood services. On Wednesday, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe tabled a list in Parliament of how the government has spent 1.3 billion shillings from the World Bank. For instance, since the first case of new coronavirus was confirmed in Kenya on 13th March 2020, the Ministry of Health has used 42 million shillings to hire 15 ambulances. 12 million shillings out of the initially approved 13.5 million shillings has been used to accommodate 30 health workers needing quarantine services for 90 days. 2 million shillings of airtime has been used by 500 staff out of an initial allocation of 6 million shillings budgeted up to end of May. 30 minutes of health vehicles have already consumed 14.4 million shillings in fuel and maintenance. Out of the 10 million shillings budgeted for COVID tea and snacks, 4 million shillings has been consumed.
From mandatory quarantine to testing to face masks, hand sanitizers, evacuation of distressed Kenyans from China and other parts of the world, and food are all at individual cost.
In fact, in Vietnam now, quarantine is now done at the expense of government. When is Kenya government going to be in a position to give for once something free, although it is not quite free, because it is coming from the taxpayer?
There's always the temptation, as the majority leader says, for people in government to think that when there is an emergency, then accountability takes a backseat.
Police are using this as an avenue for them to make money, especially enforcement of a system to wear masks. They are arresting innocent wananchi.
I'm yet to see any single report from departmental committees indicting or exposing the rot in various ministries.
In the supplementary budget to mitigate COVID-19 impact, Kenyatta National Hospital and Bagathi Hospital will get 600 million shillings. Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, 500 million shillings. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, 400 million shillings each.
I want you to move with speed and allocate money for Moi referral, for expansion.
Kitui Hospital and Mandera Hospital were each allocated